So if you've been on Roblox, you probably heard of Deepwoken, but if you haven't, then you're either playing something a lot better or a lot worse than Deepwoken. And Deepwoken, it's amazing. It's a pretty good game. I mean, it was a pretty good game until, like, you know, the past couple of updates have been not so good. And that's kind of something I want to talk about, like the current state of Deepwoken right now. And disclaimer, this is just my opinion. This isn't hate towards the devs or anything. I'm just talking about the current state of the game and like where it is right now. I'm not hating on like anyone or anything. Now, if you've been a long time player of Deepwoken, you know there's a couple of bugs, a lot of them that I feel like don't make sense at all on how the fuck are they in the game. I mean, look at this shit. I can't even pick up my own teammate. Yeah, the bugs can get pretty bad. It can range from just a simple UI bug to not being able to progress in the game type of bugs. I remember there was one update where you couldn't move things in your inventory. They had a hotfix for that. Now I know bugs are in like every game, but it's kind of different for Deepwoken because they update every week. So with every update, it kind of bring a new bug each time. And I understand it if it's like a new content and there's like a small bug with it or something, like that makes sense. But sometimes it's a bug with something that's been in the game for a while. Most recently, you can't pick up players. That's been in the game for such a long time. I don't know what they did to mess that shit up. It almost feels like there's no one testing these bugs, because that should be something like you shouldn't miss at all if you're testing the new update or testing just anything in the game. And there's some bugs that they even haven't fixed yet, like the UI bug that I talked about. When you do trial 1, yeah, I can't see my numbers going up. So unless I'm looking at my inventory to see the stats go up, I could easily fuck up my build at level 3. Now, I'm not anyone that knows anything about coding or anything. I'm not a dev, but to me, it just doesn't make sense on some of these bugs. Like, some of them just doesn't feel like they should have gone in the game in the first place. These bugs seem like they could have been easily avoided with some more testing. Now, I understand bugs with new content, with like the things like the Titus dungeon. There was some bugs with that, so it makes sense that it's not fully perfect. But not being able to craft stuff, crafting's been in the game for such a long time. How did they fuck that up? I honestly think the devs should spend 2 to 3 updates fixing the current bugs that are in the game, or find new testers, because some of these bugs are getting out of hand when it comes to just progressing. At least if they fix most of the important bugs, they can focus on the other things in the game, like balancing, which is the next part of this video. Now, balancing is a bit weird when it comes to Deep, because, you know, the meta kind of changes almost every week with the updates and with how they update weekly. So when it comes to balancing, it's a bit more subjective than the other parts of this video. So with updating weekly, the meta weapons and the meta combos can become obsolete the next week. But I think it's cool because it gives people a reason to try new ideas and experiment more with their builds. Except the latest update, they kind of messed up something with Shrine of Order. And not really mess up, but they changed it, which the community did not like. Basically nerfing all the stats if you Shrine of Order. And the reason was because the devs don't like Shrine of Order, at least some of them don't. But the problem with that is that they made Shrine of Order, and it's now such a big part of the game that changing it drastically, just out of nowhere, it kind of, you know, kind of fucks everybody else. And what I mean by that is that like anybody that makes builds on Deepwoken uses Shrine of Order. It's like a necessity for making builds. So drastically changing it out of nowhere, the community is obviously going to be mad about that. Now, I understand some of the changes, like magical resolve scales with the willpower, or the flawless lava duration now scales with your flame charm. Those, I can understand that. But Million Ton Pure Sword no longer grants the plus 5% penetration if you have less than 90 strength. So what, if I have 89, it's fuck me, I guess? See, I understand the scaling it down if you have less attribute points, but like getting rid of some of the stats, I feel like they shouldn't have done that. But that's just me. Now, is it the end of the world for Shrine builds? I don't think so. I think it's just that some builds are not going to be as strong as they were, which it's completely fine. It's not the end of the world. It's not like these cards were game breaking and they one-shot you no matter what. But any build that were kind of based on these cards, or had these and had low investment points as well, yeah, they're gonna feel the effects pretty fast. And there's definitely other balancing issues, but this is the most recent one that everyone's talking about because of how drastic it kind of changed builds in general, because this wasn't no like, oh, we changed this mantra, or oh yeah, this mantra doesn't do that no more type of change. This was a change to how people might start building the Deepwoken builds. But that's just my opinion on the Shrine of Order thing, and you know, balancing is a very iffy topic, because some people might see it as unfair, but it can get to a point where it's just a skill issue at some points. The last topic I'm going to talk about is content, and this kind of has two parts: content reworks and the lack of content. Now, as I'm recording this, they did change some of the job rework they did, like making it not spawn in such high places. But this kind of goes back to the testing thing, because if they had testers, I don't know who thought that was a good idea in the first place. Someone sat down, got the job thing, went to the fucking objective and thought, yeah, it was fine, I just had to climb 55 mountains, but now it's all good though. So if the next content rework is Salmon Hollow, oh, to be honest, they could fix it no matter what. Salmon Hollow right now is kind of ass. I mean, it does drop pretty decent loot and pretty good enchant stones, but other than that, there's not really a main reason to do it. Now, the lack of content is something else. This game's been out for a pretty long time, not gonna lie, since like 2019 to be honest. And as a game that updates every week, there is a lot of content to mess around with. But the game's been out for a very long time, and veteran players have basically tried everything. They've done every boss, every dungeon, and every type of fulfillment and weapon type build you can think of. So is content really such a huge problem? It kind of depends. For new players, no. There was a whole lot of shit to do for a new player. For players that have played for a very long time since the start of the game, yeah, it's pretty dry right now, not gonna lie. I mean, the latest Titus dungeon is pretty cool, and I haven't tried out like the other two armor sets that Titus can drop. And I will say that the cannon weapon is a pretty fun weapon to use. But other than that, that's kind of it. They drop either a weapon or another legendary weapon, and then it's mainly just balancing and bug fixes. I mean, there was one point in Deepwoken's history where people were just wondering what the next legendary weapon was going to be, because they were going on a spree with that. Now, the devs did say they want to expand on the lore, which I think is a great idea, because the lore gives so much availability when it comes to content. I mean, shit, people been asking for a layer 3 for the longest now. The amount of huge updates have only been one, and it was when layer 2 dropped. Other than that, after they started dropping major content updates, but nothing as big. Things like the Salmon Hollow, the Titus dungeon, and world events. They even said that they're not going to do anything as big as layer 2, and they're just going to keep dropping major content updates. And that's fine, but as long as it's more than like 2 dungeons a year, in my opinion, I think they should drop more bosses like the Heart of Enmity. That boss was such an amazing fight when I fought it. Like, they can actually cook with some of these bosses. Even Titus, I had such a fun time fighting Titus for the first time, and I didn't really experience any hard bugs that like broke the dungeon. Another thing I feel like they should expand on is the dual attunement paths. I mean, the Black Flames, that shit was cool as hell when it first came out. The closest thing we got to another one of those was the Green Lightning and Yellow Gale. But that's kind of locked behind an armor set. And honestly, I don't think it should have been an armor set. It low-key could have been a quest you had to do for the Legion to unlock the power to get the Green Lightning and Yellow Gale. Now, don't get me wrong, the armor set is cool. I mean, that shit comes from like Terraria and other games. But I feel like, you know, it shouldn't have been locked behind an armor set. And with all the weapons they've been adding, they could add like another set of weapons. I mean, we got Twin Blades as another medium set. They gave us a bow, they gave us a cannon, we have a scythe in the game. That's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of content to mess around with right there. If they want to promote more build diversity, then low-key just add more build diversity. Now, Deepwoken isn't only about just making builds though. There is a decent amount of exploration in the game. The problem is that veteran players have already explored the entire map. I mean, the devs did say they want to expand on the Void Sea, so I mean, that's something to look forward to, I guess. But the content part of Deepwoken has been lacking for the most part. And don't get me wrong, the updating every week is nice. It makes you look forward to something new. But if that something new is a NPC and a weapon, then you kind of start losing hope after the 5th week. That's why updates with attunements and oaths, they brought in more players back because of how much more build diversity they brought and how much more content there was to explore. Players now kind of just want bigger updates or not to fuck up the game with bugs and unfair balances. Deepwoken right now is such in a bad state for anyone trying to come back to the game, or any players that's just been playing recently. And honestly, I don't think it's the lack of content that's the biggest problem. At least for me, I don't think. It's more of just the bugs and how they treat the balancing. I mean, for a game that's been out for this long, you would assume that they have less bugs and less game-breaking bugs than this. Now, I did hear that they are rewriting some of the code in the game because of how old it is, but I feel like some of these bugs should have been caught from the get-go. Like, they should have immediately found some of these. But putting past all these issues, I don't think Deepwoken is a bad game. It's just in a very bad state right now that can be fixed. But this is just my take and my opinion about the state of Deepwoken. So let me know what y'all think about some of the recent updates with Deepwoken and how y'all feel about it.